All right. Well, all right, people. Let's see if we's live. Yes, salam. All right, so I take it. I think we're live. إن الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداه مهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فالسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا honing Leute bienvenidos a todos بخير راغلي خوش آمديد people and always swagatam. Right, so what's going on? What's bothering the awesome folk of social media, of Facebook? ¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Orale, people, orale, what's going on? Wasim, ahlan wa sahlan. Robin, ahlan wa sahlan. Sajida, Nick, all of you tuning in, marhaban bikum. I'll just wait for 1-2 people to tune in, and then we'll get this show on the road. Ayub, Al-Amin. Oof, it's been probably years. Ya salam. How did you go astray and find yourself in my company all of a sudden? Chalo hota hai. इंसान को भटकना भी पड़ता है, you have to ما معنى الهدى لولا الضلالة. That's the thing, you've got to sometimes lose your way to appreciate. Órale, Mustafa. Alright, que lo que vato. ¿Qué tal? What's going on? Right, so people, what is going on? I'm gonna give 1 minute maybe to people tuning in. Those of you just tuning in on YouTube, I've realigned the camera today, so hopefully there's we can focus. I can hypnotize you. Right, so I'm not taking the questions on YouTube. I'm taking them on Facebook, so if you want to head over to Facebook and post questions, you can do. I will try to get through them. There are some questions already there, and there's a few topics that I'll be going through tonight. Why is the quality trash? I don't know. Has the quality dropped? I'm watching myself. I can't seem to see the quality. I don't know. Let me see if I can get any feedback from my team. Right, so but I mean, actually what I can see is fine, the quality. But ka pata, obviously I'm in my own world most of the time. Frobbery said he's been labelled a deviant. Al-Amin said quality is good for me. Quality is super cool. Shukran. Thank you for that feedback. Because I was going to have to get some of the team on it, and I couldn't understand because I can see myself. I can see myself in this screen and in this screen, and in both I look as always. Banda na cheese. I got to do the humble, the desified, humble. The most despised. The most impoverished. They got it. The most despicable. The most. And you're like, all right, whoa, calm down, mate. Oh, somebody said I meant compared to YouTube. Well, that's because Facebook has a restriction. It only allows you to stream in a certain capacity, whereas YouTube allows you to do full HD. So, my super HD equipment over here is recording me. What are we going to take a look at tonight? Allah, Allah, Allah. Well, there's going to be obviously your questions. In addition to that, we'll be looking at, I'll be discussing my feedback, my thoughts, my reflections on the dialogue I had with Hari Sultan G from Australia, and I'll kind of share some reflections on it and the feedback. I'll also be looking at, there's been a video released of me, of course. Why is it always these scandals? Why nothing juicy? यार मुझे कोई ये छोटे मोटे केस मुझे सूट नहीं करते यार. You know, these low level kind of scandals, I need something, you know, up there. So there's been some clips, some extracts from my interviews, not an interview, with from my dialogue with Abdullah Gondal, and some people, this 5 pillars, not some people, 5 pillars. 5 pillars. They're like the ex I never had. Just besotted, obsessed. Watch me so closely, everything I do, just to kind of pounce on anything that they feel. That's what 5 pillars are like. They're like an ex, the ex from hell that I never had. Just so I don't feel that, you know, my time on this dunya went unfulfilled. That I feel, yeah, I missed out. I never had a venomous ex that yeah, so they released these snippets of mine where I'm discussing things like the afterlife, and they said Toba. So I'm gonna come to that as well, discuss that. I've been asked to comment on, there's a clip going around where Sheikh Yaqoob Sahib, yaar, what's going on? All these people. In the words of Ghalib, हम कहाँ के यकता थे, हम कहाँ के दाना थे, किस हुनर में यकता थे, बेसबब हुआ गालिब, दुश्मन आसमां अपना. That, what was it that, you know, was I so unique in some skill, or was it something that, what did I possess? Nothing, Ghalib's trying to say. Yet, the whole world turned against me. Allah, Allah, Allah. The power of broadband, people. You see, all I do is sit here and just use my, if I'm not streaming TV series, I use my broadband, share my thoughts and reflections, and let these ripples go off and create a butterfly effect. So Sheikh Yaqoob is in a video kind of condemning me about my description, or not description, but my comments regarding Imam Nawawi. So I've been asked that, look, you know, here is His Eminence. His Eminence is discussing me, so chalo, well, I can't say I'm the eminent, I'm the anti-eminence. The anti-eminence. So what is my scum, low-life kind of response to His Eminence? Chalo, we'll get to that as well. And then we'll also have to discuss another, my long-lost love. Sheikh Asrar G has also resurfaced by uploading, or people uploading, a video of his, titling it A Refutation of Abu Layth. And so what is that all about, to do with Bukhari? So I've been asked to comment on that as well. Wow, what's going on? You know, it's like people get a group of like hateful exes, and I get this. Stop it. I mean, at least with your exes, there may be the occasional kind of like, you know, under forgetful circumstances, there may be some compensation, shall we say. You can, but here, what do I get? Ya salam. This, so we suffer in this world, painfully, miserably, and in isolation. Right, so what else is going on? What else is going on? So that's the whole, the trio that we'll be speaking about. But till then, let's first of all look at what is on your mind, mi gente. What is going on? The weather, first of all, in the UK is just killing it. Not in a good way. I don't actually like the kind of powerful heat. I don't like that. I just like it. I like it bright. I like a breeze. I like it. You know, I don't like it dull, but I don't like it just hot and stuffy. And I don't like that. Me no gusta. Okay. And then some people watching this will probably say, so what are you gonna do about hellfire then, Annie? Hellfire is really hot, Annie. Cha? Looks like, so, right, what's going on? What's going on? Right, Hammer is in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan, Hammer. Ahlan wa sahlan. Marhaban bik. Right, so. Right, so, Billy, boy, you're doing it, man. Billy's in the house, people. Alright. So, I'm just going to make sure and try and bring up some questions that you guys have been asking, that have been bothering. Let me just switch the language here. Okay, so let's just go into this off one. Samihuni, huh? Lo siento, mi gente, lo siento. Now I'm there. Right, so what is going on, people? Woof, some questions. What do I think of, somebody has asked me about cupping. Is that a train sound? Wah! Falcon eyes and super sharp ears right there. It's not actually a train sound, it's a plane sound. Alright! Did you think I don't live in class? I have my own private runway. See, this is what happens when you walk on the dark side and the Satan funds you. See, people are like, I was watching this, somebody sent me a link to, I'm going to discuss it anyway, that my ex, Farid, right, so from Sunni Wahhabi Defense, so he had these clips and people were chatting about me, and this was on Twitter, they're saying stuff, this deviant. And then somebody was saying, find out where he gets his money from. Who funds him? Who funds him? Well, it's not your dad that's funding me. That's a shame. Maybe if you ask Abu Ji, can he kindly fund me? Right, so I have businesses, my friends. I have businesses. So this is why I tell you people, be entrepreneurial, right? Be entrepreneurial people. Always be enterprising. So, alhamdulillah, yep. So, what else is going on? What else is going on? Somebody said, please explain the hadith where the Prophet split the moon. I have got a detailed video clip on YouTube where I'm explaining that the Prophet didn't actually split the moon, but that's what it felt like to people. Okay, so it felt like that. And Ibn Ashur, I actually go through the tafsir of Ibn Ashur, the great Maliki legend of the 20th century, who actually says that. And so I go through what he's saying, and I read it out, I translate it, and I explain that he mentions, Ibn Ashur does, and he was the Shaykh al-Islam of the last century, and he was a Maliki Don, alright, and my indirect teacher, who I have a chain going back to of authorization through Sheikh Sidi Bu Khubza to Ibn Ashur. Now, Ibn Ashur mentions that this splitting of the moon was a phenomenon that people felt they experienced. So their experiences are validated, but it doesn't mean that the moon actually split. And he explains how you would have felt that. That they could have been, for example, he explains that they could have been a partial eclipse. They could have been things like this. And hence he brings the riwayah of Ibn Abbas that it wasn't split, but kusif al-qamar, that it was actually eclipsed. He brings that riwayah. He also mentions how the atmosphere can give that effect with the mountains to make it look like that the moon was split. So that's what he mentions, and that's what I'm in line with as well. Obviously, people can believe whatever they want. But I obviously go with the voice of reason. To me, faith is firmly built on reason. Because that way, if you build your faith on reason, it may appear to be slightly weaker in some ways. It may appear, right? So that it slightly moves, almost. And that may be unsettling for certain people, because they may want something so solid, such a firm structure, but because reason allows some movement, it frightens people. Yet such a forcibly solid structure cannot withstand an earthquake, people. So such structures dilapidate and collapse under under earthquakes. But you'll see earthquake-proof buildings that adjust, that allow for certain movements. This is why they actually last. And it's a similar analogy, if you like. Analogy, come on, I'm giving analogies, this one, I too, capable of analogies. Right, so what else is going on? What else? Let's take some questions from here. What do you make of the hadith of cupping in Abu Dawood? Cupping is bloodletting, okay? Just in case you're mixing it up with a different kind of cup. Even if I say something innocent, it comes off as though it's scandalous. Why? ¿Por qué? This one not nice. This one too bad. It get me in a lot of trouble, this one. So I'm saying here just cupping. Now, cupping is contrary to what people think. It isn't actually an Islamic practice at all. It was simply, as Ibn Khaldun, the great legend and Maliki scholar, mentions that cupping was simply just of the treatments of the age. It was something that Islam did not invent. The Arabs were already doing, and it wasn't just Arabs, many people were already partaking in this practice of cupping. Right, so that's why it was being practiced. So people did that. The companions would have done cupping, bloodletting. The Prophet ﷺ would have participated in bloodletting. But that's just being part and parcel of that society. It's like saying, would have he, for example, rode a camel? Of course he would have. Would have he lived in a desert? Of course he did, because that's where he lived. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So these things are not sacred per se. So living in Saudi Arabia is not a holy thing to do. Okay, it's not that because the Prophet lived in Saudi Arabia, let's all go live in Saudi Arabia. Although MBS is trying to accommodate with the concerts, he's trying to make it helpful, you know, this one. this one bringing Nicki Minaj, you know, this one. Just to help recalibrate the iman every now and then. You know, you gotta like MBS, I guess. So those of you who don't, MBS is Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince. Anyway, staying on track. So these things, like saying, is it sunnah? Just because the Prophet rode a camel, should we all be riding camels? No, that's not how this works. Okay, so doing things that were just you know, just part of the circumstances where the Prophet was, is nothing. Right, there's another pressing question here. So there's nothing holy about cupping, and today a lot of scientific research demonstrates that cupping doesn't actually do anything, as far as I'm aware. I was speaking to Dr. Imran, who's on Facebook. He runs the Metroflex gym and also is involved. He's a doctor in medical research and lectures and has that. I mean, you can reach out to him on Facebook. I think it might be called is it called Transformation now? But anyway, if you search Imran Khan, Dr. Imran Khan, and Metroflex, it should come up. But you can reach out to Doc and ask him that he himself conducted several studies where I think he told me he sent off 60-something blood samples that were from bloodletting. So, you know, when the blood has all it looks all toxic and horrible, he sent that off and had it tested for any kind of excess toxins. And it wasn't. It came back negative. It just came back with what you'd normally expect. It was nothing. It wasn't actually removing so many toxins from the body. Yeah, so there's no kind of conclusive findings. And this is nothing so new to Islam. Christianity was really big on bloodletting, especially in the 17th century, 16th century, leading up to the 18th century. And there's an amazing discussion about this on the BBC podcast In Our Time, where it discusses religion and then discusses bloodletting. An amazing discussion they've got, so you can check that out if you like. Jennifer Lopez was invited to Morocco and performed a concert. She dressed a little too wild, but now she's banned. Oh, the tragedies of this ummah. I just keep getting video interrupted. Elizabeth, hang in there. I'm sure it'll clear up. Right, what else? What else are some questions, people? Somebody had asked a question saying, can I do wudu whilst all... This was a legit question, it's on there. Can I do wudu whilst all wet and in the shower? Are you trying to explain to me that you get all wet in the shower? Is that what we're... You know, when we're in the shower, taking a shower, and we're all wet. I like the way you explained that part to me, like, like, I don't think he's going to get this one. I need to kind of break it down for him. I like it. Can you do wudu whilst taking a shower? Why, what else are you doing whilst taking a shower that is preventing you from doing wudu? You nutty, you. What do you think I'm talking about? I'm talking about just daydreaming. What? Toba. People, the corruption, the corruption is in the mind, in the mind. So, right, opinions on apostate prophet. I think he's trying to flirt with you. If that guy's trying to flirt, that's not the way to do it. Okay. What? Why me? Why me? Why me? I'm not an object. Can you imagine guys the day that guys start feeling like, I'm not an object, not just an object. I have feelings, I have I have a personality. Said no guy ever. Guys are just like, bring it on, please. Right, so I think he meant you are high with your own supply. Amy, orale, is that what's going on? Right, nope. This is my default settings. I'm, by default, I'm kind of high as a person. I don't know why, but God created me that way. Seriously, I'm kind of, by default, a bit eccentric, should I say at the least. What else? What are Shu'aib saying? What are your thoughts on doggies? Inna lillahi. You harami. Inna lillahi. Behave, people. This is Q&A, live and unrestricted though, but it's Q&A. Can we say music is haram now through trajectory hermeneutics? Music is haram. Why would music be haram? Why would music be haram? Music was never haram to begin with. And to say it's haram through trajectory hermeneutics, but why? I actually do feel that, you have the saying that music is the nourishment of the soul. And I feel that that's so true in many ways. The way music can touch the soul. Very few things can do that. Right, birds sing music. Absolutely, Amy. Birds sing in nature. We find this right around us. It's amazing that what music can do to an individual. It can bring people out of comas, as an example. Even if people are suffering from mental health, they've shown things like music can help maybe slow down that degeneration. It's amazing. I mean, you wouldn't assume it, but then you think in the past, even Muslims had these maristans, these kind of music therapy hospitals, which were in the Middle East. Obviously, today the mullahs would go mad. Taliban would, they would kind of wreak havoc. But in that day and age, the scholars and Islam and Muslims were much more enlightened. So they had these music therapy hospitals, and I think that's an amazing concept. Indeed, I think music really touches the soul. And there's different kinds of music, obviously. Not every kind is every person's cup of tea. But music, to ban music, it deprives human beings of a particular experience in life. And I tell you, it's not that, these things like music, they are to be celebrated, I feel. Not made to feel guilty about. Like if you listen to some music, you shouldn't be made to feel guilty for that. That said, I do agree that there's, I mean, this is my thoughts, people may disagree with me, that there's some kind of music that I would think is trash. I would think it's, and I don't just mean here about taste, but I think maybe encourages a wrong kind of message and it does things like that. But that doesn't make it haram, but that, I guess it's a propriety issue. It's something I wouldn't, you know, it's not the kind of music you would play around, let's say, and by music I mean songs here, so you wouldn't play them around children or play them, you know, maybe the kind of content, what they're talking about. But that doesn't make it haram. That just makes it a propriety issue. That you do it in certain, you know, like if some people listen to it, that's their choice, but you wouldn't want it around children, just as you wouldn't want swearing around children. Like, that's just a propriety issue. It's not that swearing in and of itself is necessarily haram. It's not haram. Swearing at somebody can be haram because that's causing harm. Harming somebody is haram. But not swearing in and of itself. It may not, it's not I'm not saying it's an encouraged thing, but it wouldn't be haram. It's like saying eating, I don't know, junk food. You know, it's not a good thing. You wouldn't want to, OD on it. You wouldn't necessarily want children growing up on it. But it's not something haram. Okay. Alright, so what else is going on? Oh, right, yeah, is there distraction noise about the planes or whatever? It may be because I've got the window open. And sometimes, usually it's closed, but it's quite warm. I was contemplating putting air conditioning, but then I was like, we only get like 2 days a year that are hot. Right, so what else is it allowed to listen to music with potentially shirk lyrics? Whoa. Such as the kind of thing you would find in Bollywood songs. Inna lillah. Is he calling Bollywood? Jack Baur, are you calling Bollywood shirk? Kufr. Toba. Allahumma aghfir lahum fa innahum la ya'lamun. Fa innahum qawmun jahilun. Of course it's okay to listen to music that's Bollywood, or even if it's praising, you see, so there are certain songs in Bollywood. I mean, I don't mean, they're not like bhajans or things like that, are actually like hymns, they're not like that. But I think what the person means is there's certain songs that will say, oh, I worship you in love, and to me you come before God, for example. There's that famous song, what is it? Tujh mein Rab dikhta hai, that I see God in you. To me, that isn't really shirky anyway, to be fair, because I think, like, if somebody reminds you of God, or in that person you see a manifestation of the divine at work. See, it's all to do with your understanding, you see. وَمِنْ هُنَا اخْتَلَفَتِ الْأَفْهَامِ. People, you know, what can you do? It's in the words of, was it Mutanabbi, where he said, وَهَلْ عَلَيَّ إِلَّمْ تَفْهَمِ الْبَقَرُ. He said, is it my fault if cows don't understand? Well, so these things are fine. They're not haram to listen to. You don't need to freak out. It doesn't mean that after you heard it, you're going to start worshipping idols now. And this is why I so love the poets of the past, especially the Urdu poets. I feel that the Urdu poets of the past were so secure in their faith that they could speak about these things openly, without any fear of repercussions, without any fear of faith. Like, they were just true to their faith. And such an admirable quality, honestly. I find it amazing. So, somebody said, too many blind sheep on here listening to this guy. Says somebody who's on here listening to me. The irony, somebody comes on here, watches me, and then says that there's too many sheep on here watching this guy. Are you referring to multiple personalities of yourself by any chance? What else, people? What else? Rash is in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan. Somebody said, would I multiple wives? The more the merrier. I don't even believe in a restriction on 4. I'm with Imam Shawkani. Me and Imam Shawkani are like this. We're like, hell yeah. We're kind of like, just rocking it. Me and Imam Shawkani. So, Imam Shawkani clearly argued that, look, there was no restriction. No restriction, people. Man is born free. Yet everywhere he is in chains. Oof. What is this world? Ya Allah. Tere azad bandon ki na ye dunya na wo dunya. As Allama Iqbal said. He said, oh God, you're truly inherent, you're creatures, these humans who are inherently free. They belong neither to this world nor to that world. You know, yahan marne ki pabandi, wahan jeene ki pabandi. Here you're restricted. It's inevitable that you die, and there you're doomed to live forever. You know, either way you get no choice. That was Allama Iqbal. This is why I love poetry. And you know, great Imams like Imam Shafi'i stressed why it's important to acquaint yourself with poets, and because these people will expand your horizons. I'm telling you, the expansion that you'll get from poets. I would actually advise people today that if you want to reattach with, let's say, with the faith and also the broader kind of, I don't know, like a cultural belonging, which many people do, I would say instead of Molvis, right, instead of these kind of mullahs, invest your time reading or watching poets. Seriously, I think you will thank me in years to come. You'll say, you know, wow, that Mufti, maybe he said a lot of wacko things, but on that thing he was on point. Because these people will give you something. Their thoughts, you know, and don't take them lightly. These poets, their thoughts are much more profound than most Molvis and the clergy, most of the clergy combined. Maybe the exception of some. If you're going to count me in the clergy, then maybe with the exception of some. Right, but these, I'm telling you, these poets, their understanding. Let me tell, John Elia, the legend. Yeah. It was saying that the connection wasn't stable. I don't know why that happened. I'd complained to Virgin Media. I had them boost up my entire thing, had an engineer come round, and so I'm not expecting any kind of hiccups on that front. So, right, I was going to tell you a line from John Elia, the legend. He says in this poem, people, wait there, for this I've got to pick up the other glass. My Sam Crow. Alright, people. Well, that's what we're talking about. Men of Mayhem. Sam Crow, Sons of Anarchy. Right, so he says to somebody he loves, I'm sure he had a few amorous kind of relationships, but as you do, not. Toba, 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 toba. Hail Mary. Oh, sorry, wrong religion. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Right, so he says to this woman he loves, he says, Kitni dilkash ho tum, kitna dilju hu main. That how amazingly beautiful and attractive that you are. Wa kitna dilju hu main. And what a kind of enthusiast and a person full of life and energy that I am. And how beautiful you are. Kitni dilkash ho tum aur kitna dilju hu main. Afsos ke hum log mar jayenge. He said, what a tragedy that even we will eventually just die. Sometimes I'm telling you, when you've got to read this poetry, people. It pierces the heart. It crushes the soul. It's amazing, sometimes you see these words that people have said and the way they resonate. And he has another very interesting line, and I've always found this very troubling. I mean, it's almost like it's unsettlingly overwhelming that he says. He says, Jani, kya aaj meri barsi hai? Jani, kya aaj meri barsi hai? Yani aaj ke din mar gaya tha main. That is such an amazing, oh my God. Like he says, his barsi is like an anniversary, but here it's like a death anniversary. So he says, my love is today my death anniversary. Does that mean it was on this date that I died? And that is just so, wow, like unsettlingly powerful to read anyway. I don't know. I mean, I share my thoughts with you. Some of you might be thinking, yaar kya bakwas kar raha hai yaar? You might be thinking, what nonsense is this guy chatting? So, right, so see a job saying this guy will say eating pork is good for you. Right, well, looks like some people are here and they're upset that I'm going to be responding to a few people, so it's triggered. And yet, look at the beauty is that they have to come and watch me. I love it, honestly. I love it. The power, it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't. If they don't watch me, they what did he say? As I said once before, that you can love me or you can hate me, but you can't ignore me. Murat is asking an interesting question. Is the Bible corrupted? If not, then why is the Quran more authoritative? I think the point here is that it's not, I don't feel, this is me, I don't feel that the previous scriptures were necessarily revealed in the same way as the Quran. So the Quran is a Quran. It is something for recitation. Quran means recitation. Qur'anan Arabiyan. That inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyan. That it is a Quran, a recitation that you will read. The other books were not a recitation. And I feel that the Gospels were simply just a good news. That's all they were. They weren't scripture in the sense. I mean, they were being articulated by Jesus, but I don't feel that it was, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it was something that he was trying to give them that would be a recitation for them. It was just a message that he was giving them of good news, called the gospel, the good news. That's what it is. And the Old Testament, in a similar way, the Old Testament is a, it's a collection of many books, which I feel many of them may have been kind of like inspirations that were put forward by people. So, yeah, so I think there's an essential to do with the essence, the ontological, like to do with the actual reality of the texts. There is an ontological difference between these scriptures. They are not of the same kind. They are not like for like. That's what I feel. And I think some people, because they're assuming that these prior scriptures were like for like, and then they got corrupted. That's not the case. I think what got corrupted was, and by corrupted I think it meant it got slightly confused, was the overall message, not, or parts of the overall message. Okay. You should consider writing a book. I should. Well, shukran, muchas gracias, Amy. Shukran for that. Believe me, these people are misguiding. It's just getting blind followers, says Sia, who's still watching me. Even your haters will flock to you. Allah, Allah. What is it, huh? What is this magnetism? Milky Milk is asking about physical intimacy outside of marriage. Tawbah, 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 tawbah. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Astaghfirullah. People, we have a deviant in our midst. We have an impure pervert. You see, now look, let's be real, people. Let's be real. Institutionalized religion is not going to provide a solution to these problems. We have a huge problem of, not just we, humanity in the 21st century has a huge problem to do with relationships. Huge problem. And Muslims, especially in the West, who are part and parcel of that world, are equally stuck and in some ways worse off. Because we're constrained with the problems of the age, which everybody has, but then we're also constrained with the element of culture. And then also, not twisted, but tainted religion. That is tainted, and so we're getting it from all angles. And not in a good way. So the thing is that this is, so you have to feel for Muslims that, people are suffering. And then when they do partake in certain things, the immense guilt adds to the psychological pressure. I think it's a very difficult time. It's an amazing time to be alive, but at the same time, it's difficult. The irony of the age is it's an amazing time to be alive for the most complex of matters. And yet for the simplest of matters that have been coming since time immemorial, like relationships, it's one of the most difficult times to be alive. Because these things which in the past were so simple, today appear incredibly complex and paradoxical in nature. That things like relationships, because there is an endless stream of choice, we are inundated with so many people, we constantly will question our own choice. human beings measure their happiness by contrasting it against others. And others will always seem much more happier in a world of social media. So this adds to the kind of depressive state that we're going through as humanity, right? So I feel that this really serious, and I highlighted previously a kind of study where you, and there's many other studies, but this was just one that I highlighted in psychology, where people were given a simple choice of a kind, just some kind of sweets and chocolates and things that they would like, and they were given a brief choice of something like, I think only a dozen items, and they just had to choose one and that they would like, and then later they just had to rate how satisfied they were with having chosen that, or do they regret and wish they'd chosen something else. And people felt, the overwhelming majority, over 80%, felt very content with what they'd chosen. They were really glad, oh yeah, I had that dessert or that chocolate or that, it was really good. And then a counter group that were given 100 products to choose from and only chose one, with the overwhelming majority of them then feeling dissatisfied, discontent with their choices and regretful that, I know here it's not a big deal, but still an element of regret that I should have chosen something else. Because what happens is we are drowned by a myriad, an infinite nature of choice. It paralyzes us. We are paralyzed by choice. And then we live with regret. So when you're on social media, when a person in this day and age with relationships, so let's say somebody sees a beautiful girl and he thinks, wow, he's mesmerized with this girl, and he thinks she's totally stunning and beautiful and attractive, and which she is. So he pursues a relationship, they pursue a relationship, and they hit it off, and they're in a relationship, they get married or whatever. Now, but then, like her, there are thousands of other beautiful, stunning women, let's say, on social media, as an example. Now this person is equally seeing them on social media. And this level of exposure, and although one may question, is it really a choice? How much freedom does he have in truly establishing a relationship with all of these women? But still there's a perception, a deceptive perception of choice. There's an illusion of choice. That illusion of choice creates an element of discontent within the person's heart, because he feels like, I've lost out. And likewise, this isn't restricted to, I'm just giving the example from a man's perspective, equally to a woman. This is not gender specific. So people are struggling, and then there's this constant thing of trying to compete against others, and this pursuit of this high octane pursuit of happiness is very difficult to keep up with. So yeah, right, so I just thought I'd say some of that. Right, so what else is somebody called Imam Hussein, Allahu Akbar. You couldn't make this up. Somebody called Imam Hussein Allahu Akbar is on here saying this guy's a clown. If you are gonna troll people, at least don't use the title name of Imam Hussein. For God's sake. What kind of, how much more disrespectful could you be to Imam Hussein? And then following it with Allahu Akbar. These are the trolls of this day and age, people. The trolls. Yes, so, by the way, in case people were asking, I do feel that in the Sunni discourse, people ought to promote, or at least legitimize, things like mut'ah, because really it's, many Sunnis like Ibn Ashur and many other people did not believe it was haram. And at least that's a solution to this relationship problem. Okay, but that's some thoughts. And people, the problem with that is the moment you say, mut'a, people say, so you must be a Shia. Oh, yeah, a genius. It's on Colombo. Well, it's like that slow clap. Right, anyway, so what else is going on, people? What else is going on? Right, shall we take to... There's a lot of trolls on tonight, ain't they? I wonder who sent them. What is the punishment for a person who had memorized the Quran and then later in life ended up forgetting it? There's no punishment for people like that. These things, these hadith are not sahih, but these are just overall messages that people... These are like weak hadith anyway, but this message was simply a method of getting people to... of kind of motivating, incentivizing people to commit the Quran to memory, to invest their time in the Quran. So you will get many, many people from the Salaf who later in life admitted that they fabricated many hadith. So, for example, most hadith to do with the virtues of the Quran are actually weak or fabricated. And the reason being is that in early Islam, a lot of people, you get many narrators, Ruh ibn Abi Maryam, other people, you'll get several kind of narrators who will later admit to having fabricated hadith. They will say, we just made them up. Hadith to do with the virtues of the Quran. Why? Because we felt people were going away from the Quran. So to them, they were doing a kind of, ironically, they felt they were doing a service to the deen, and they said we weren't lying against the Prophet, we were lying for him. This is actually what they said in the books. If you read it, they said, "Lam nakdhib alayhi, kadhibna lahu." They go, we didn't lie against him, we lied on his behalf. Our religion. What people will do in the name of religion sometimes is amazing. It's amazing. Somebody said, the beard of a woman, lol. Right, I've got no idea what that means. Is he talking about my beard? Seriously, is this the beard of the women folk around you? I feel sorry for those women if they all sit around with goatees and tash out like that. Well, what is your take, Elizabeth is asking, on people speaking in tongues? I witnessed it a lot and talked about it a lot, never saw it in the Muslim country. You see, this speaking in tongues phenomenon, I just feel it's a kind of trance-like state that is induced, and people do these things because a narrative exists. So speaking in tongues, there is a narrative within the Christian community to do things like that. So hence the phenomenon plays out. I mean, to do that in a culture or a surrounding that does not have that narrative wouldn't make any sense. Just as in the Muslim culture, you have this thing of being possessed and somebody's done magic on me, or black magic, or evil eye, and then people act out in accordance with the narrative, the overarching kind of narrative. So in a similar way, that's what it is in my understanding. These are simply psychologically induced phenomena that don't have a true reality in that sense. Alright, admin are ready. It says locked, loaded and ready to block. Amen. Amen to that. Right, so tongues, is he a Christian? Is based in just a later fabrication. Sure. I mean, the Christendom, I'm sure, has its problems, just as many things do. All right, the admin are now awake, people. So we're going to get some blocking. Right, also, before I forget, Muslim Millennials is an awesome project. There's a final push to kind of support it. That's all kinds of support, your moral support, your actual support in sharing their work, but also currently they are doing a fundraiser to sustain their project for, I believe, another year or so. But you can find it on the Muslim Millennial page. Have a read of it, check it out. I have shared it. These are young Muslims who are trying to identify with religion as it feels, with a sense of real feel, which young people can actually relate to. The problem is today, you know, the deen of the mullahs, the reign of the mullahs is kind of over. And that kind of weird, hard-hitting, very cultural folklore religion from back home, with many insecurities and inferiority complexes and desires to rule the world, and that is, you know, it's crumbling in the East. In the West, it has no chance at all. With the younger generation, I tell you that they will either, many of them will either just abandon the deen if forced to take on an ideology like that. So people like Muslim Millennials, or these young kind of efforts, and they've done some podcasts and interviews, and these young guys, I like what they're doing. You know, you get, and many of them are my friends. This particular project and students, and they have this podcast as Barakah Boys, and I think it's amazing what they're doing. Khalid Siddiq, the whole Umar, and there's Mustafa Briggs, and this whole thing. I feel that Momo is obviously with them as well. Abu Muawiyah, this whole thing. I think that, you know, just having the courage to actually just speak with what they're feeling, and not having to run away and abandon the religion, because, you know, the clergy are not happy with that. So nobody owns this thing. So it is for us. Okay, so that's some words for that, people. Is selling drugs haram? Yes, of course. I mean, I'm very against this this crime culture, this drug dealing culture. It's brought nothing. These things have brought nothing but tragedy to the Muslim communities. They've brought a terrible name to Muslims. It's amazing how Muslim parents turn a blind eye quite easily to the culture of drug dealing. They don't turn it that easily to other things, but they will, you know, very easily just say, oh, well, you know, no, my son, no, my son, I'm sure he's doing some kind of telesales job. That's why he's driving a Lamborghini. Acha. Is that how it works? He's just this one just admin, you know, but he got supercars, you know, he got 3 supercars now, mashallah. Very hard working, my son. But it's a shame, really, you know, the addiction that the people on the other end, the tragedies in their lives. May Allah make things easy for them. But yeah, so do you have to return what you stole in Islam, or is asking for forgiveness okay? Lewis Johnson. Lewis Johnson, rather odd, you know, on a Muslim fiqh Q&A. Oh, good day, Johnson. Well, brother, if one has been caught, one has conducted actions of theft in the past. Are we referring to colonialism here? Are you talking about the Kohinoor, the diamond from India? Can you please return it? Return it to me. It's rightful heir right here. So, oh, well, you see, returning things that are stolen, that's an interesting one. I would say that you have to kind of play it by ear, that you have to kind of assess the situation at hand. You see, sometimes that may be very the great and amazing thing to do, incredibly noble, admirable, and utterly ethical. That would be the thing to do in many circumstances. But in some circumstances it may be the wrong thing to do, because it may trigger a greater tragedy, you know. So it may cause a series of problems that are much greater. I mean, it may, you know, it's like if somebody says, well, I had an affair with this woman, for example. Now I've gone all straight. Should I go and own up? And every sane person would be like, right, so sometimes some things will cause greater harm and tragedy than other things. So one is that the theft has been done. Now, how can you make amends? If it is something in which you can return the thing, I think that is ideal and optimum. But if you feel that it's going to create much more harm, and it's going to, I don't know, trigger a series of unfortunate events, then that would not be the best thing to do. But you know, maybe you can make amends in some other ways, but this is all situation based. For that, please refer to my consultancy, which has an hourly billing rate. Right, so Mufti, many atheists say the Quran is wrong, in that they say Imran alayhi salam is both father of Musa and Maryam. Yeah, sure. I mean, look, you know, this thing that, Ya Ukhta Harun, this is not, oh, right, sorry, about Imran alayhi salam, or about Maryam alayhi salam. What I'll do is I'll go through that in an entirely separate kind of discussion, okay? Is Japanese in Marvel, yes, is it haram to have eyebrows longer than, look at that. Look, we are propriety people. Right, okay, blocked. Just rude. I mean, there's other people on here, you know, just being, I mean, it doesn't bother me. You're not insulting me per se, you're just acting like an idiot. And right, so alright, let's move on to this, some thoughts and reflections on my dialogue with Hari Sultan. Okay, those of you that haven't seen that, alright, this is going to, I'm just trying to remove that. Alright, excellent. You know when you get a message that just blocks part of the view. Right, so I had a very enjoyable dialogue with Hari Sultan, who's a world-renowned ex-Muslim. He's from Pakistan originally, and I think for several years, at least, I'm pretty sure, maybe a decade and a half, he's residing in Australia. So he's been very vocal on these issues. He has a book, The Curse of God, and he's made a lot of YouTube videos on mistakes in Islam, why Islam is nonsensical, and what, and he's had a lot of traction as well, and so a lot of people are influenced by him, and he's offered out to have a dialogue with many Muslims, many theists, who I think most of them have refused generally. So he'd reached out to me, and I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to kind of like connect and chat. And he did say that he wanted it in Urdu because that particular channel of his called Pakistani Mulhid, a Pakistani atheist, is an Urdu channel, and so it's dedicated to a particular like the subcontinent, okay, the Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, things like that. And so it's in the primary focus, the medium is Urdu. So I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Although I haven't generally, I mean, I do speak Urdu, but I don't spend hours on end in a dialogical, in a very technical dialogue, usually in Urdu. I mean, I speak in Urdu at home and things like that, and obviously I love Urdu, but it was actually, so I did think to myself before embarking on the dialogue that would I be able to truly express myself, because that's what I want to do, and would there be a hindrance? But alhamdulillah, I didn't really feel there was any hindrance, and I thought it was amazing, and we spoke for so long I didn't even realize the time. It went on for over 4 hours. It is on YouTube. You can watch it if you'd like to. My reflections on it, I'm really glad that we had this dialogue. I've had, just as with Abdullah Gondal, I had a dialogue with him just on about 2 weeks ago. That was in English. That's on YouTube as well. Now, I feel that some people have kind of said to me, oh, they've got back to me, and some people have tried to say that, you know, oh, you should be wary of these people, they are snakes, and these people are like, you know, they're hateful, and they hate Islam, and they're bigots, and so on and so forth. And I feel that I disagree. I have a certain amount, I have respect for these people. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that I have to respect everything they say. Okay. Just as I wouldn't expect them to respect, I mean, they may tolerate things I say, but I don't expect them to respect everything I say. But as a person, they can respect me, and I can respect them. And that is the purpose of dialogue. See, what is this world, people, if we can't even sit down and talk to each other? If I feel that just because you don't believe in my God, I can't even talk to you, I can't even have a dialogue with you, I'm so scared. I mean, what kind of a world are we living in? What kind of a faith am I upholding? If that's how weak my faith is, that I am too intimidated to kind of engage in an individual who has left Islam, and lest he should trip me up or bring out faults about Islam. And look, the conversation was a very transparent one. I knew that, look, there's going to be an exchange of ideas, there's going to be questions from both sides, and there will be responses. I did feel, and he did, and I expected Hari Sultan, for example, in this dialogue, to question me on certain things that he felt were mistakes in the Quran. I did expect that. I mean, that was something I thought he was going to do. And that's fine. I'm glad he did. Because, look, when he speaks, like, let's say Hari Sultan, now he's going to do a video saying there's mistakes in the Quran, which I'm sure he's got several of. Now, many Muslims may watch this and feel that, damn, if only, you know, like a Muslim could speak to him and see, are these actual mistakes? Now, the problem is Muslim scholars, most of them, are too intimidated to speak to these people. They feel that, oh, if I speak to them, oh, I've got to either hammer them, kill the apostate, or I've got to, you know, I can't come out like looking like, oh, he got me, and I don't know, and they're just too insecure, too, you know, they're too worried about what their crowd will say. See, to me, it's not like that. To me, it's like, well, let's have a chat. It's fine. I mean, I don't know what you're going to... Hari Sultan did not tell me anything that he was going to discuss with me. Neither did Abdullah Gundal. We had no idea. I just said that it's going to be a free flow conversation. That's all I said. Okay, and that's all we did. So he threw anything. I mean, I also questioned him on certain aspects. I mean, he didn't know what I was going to do, but that's the nature of a human dialogue. It is so good to just talk to people, just to understand what's going on in their mind, to see what is it that's bothering, what is it that's puzzling this person. You'll find that many people are very sincere as well in their own search. That these people, you know, these atheists, they actually think about religion. They're not people who are, you know, some of them may have become a bit bitter and venomous and vile. Some of them may have, but that's also because of the reaction from the Muslims. Like, look at me, like I'm here now. I'm a Muslim. I'm a qualified scholar in Islam. I'm a mufti, somebody who studied Islam for so many years. You know, I've studied Islam. I've been studying it now as a continuous journey for at least over 2 decades. It was 1997 when I began studying Islam. Now, I have in that time memorized the Quran. I have gained an unbroken chain of transmission going back to the Prophet in the Quran. I have studied the major books of the major sciences of Islam, at least from either an intermediate or to an advanced level. I have studied in secular universities religion. I have completed the major books of Hadith from cover to cover, like Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, and gained an authorization. I'm authorized to teach them. I've graduated as somebody, as a mufti who can formulate his own opinions within Islam. I'm empowered by the Sharia to do that. Yet, I will have people come on here, and the reason I'm saying this, I will have people come on here and tear into me, Muslims, with the names, like titles like Imam Hussein, Allahu Akbar, like that troll that just came on here with that title, and then just trolling me and hating on me. I'll have somebody coming on here using abusive language at me. Muslims, people who probably pray 5 times a day. Yet, just because I appear different in views to them, and I am probably so much more, I don't say this arrogantly, I say this objectively, learned in Islam than they are. Like, they probably wouldn't even be able to understand one verse of the Quran in its reality. Like, as in explain which part is the verb, which part is what. They don't understand. Not even one verse of the Quran. Yet, they would find it absolutely fine to come on here and mock me. As a scholar, what do you think, how do you think they treat ex-Muslims? How do you think they react to them? They react to them with great venom, with such bitterness. They abuse them, they threaten them, they, you know, like they'll insult their families, they'll swear at their families, at their wives, they'll threaten to rape their wives, I mean, this is being said by like people with beards and praying, and this is the state. And then they are surprised that these people hate Islam. See, why would they not hate Islam? Because you guys have forced them to hate Islam. So, look, all human beings, it does not matter what you believe in. You can be a Christian, a Hindu, a Sikh, a Muslim, a Jew. You can be an atheist, you can be an ex-Muslim, you can be an agnostic. I will have respect for you always as a human being. And then your actions can determine other things. But, so a dialogue is something I believe is imperative in our age. So that was a very I thought it was a very enjoyable dialogue. We discussed many things. He did mention to me certain verses, the embryology verses. I did go over them. I said I don't feel that there's any mistake in the embryological verses. He did, I mean, we discussed that at some length actually. I mentioned that the embryological verses, Allah begins them by mentioning, in kuntum fi raybin min al-ba'thi, if you doubt the afterlife, then we created you from soil. فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ. We created you from soil, ثُمَّ مِن نُطْفَةٍ, then a drop of fluid. Now, what's interesting is that I said that nobody takes we created you from soil to be literal. So if you don't take the beginning and the whole objective of the verse to be literal, why are you so hooked up on everything else must be so literal and not just an overview? Because the verse doesn't even begin like that. Nobody reading that verse actually believes that they themselves physically were soil. So that was my first point. The second point was that, you see, where is the mistake in this verse? Because Haris had mentioned that he felt that Allah says that about the mudgha, then when the mudgha becomes bone, what is it? ثُمَّ كَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا, then we covered the bones in flesh. Or we kind of placed the flesh on the bones and things like this. Like as in meat, we placed the meat on the muscles and things like this. Now, I did mention to him, but you are aware, because he said that the mistake in embryology is these things are produced simultaneously and are produced much later. So I did say to him, but you are aware that things like cartilage are produced very early in the development of a fetus. So he wasn't aware of, or maybe it appeared he wasn't aware, or he said, well, I'm not so sure, cartilage is too soft to be bone, and maybe then God should have said soft bone. But this wasn't, but it was a good discussion to explain that look, I don't feel that, I accept that could be your interpretation, but I don't feel that's clear enough to call it a mistake. Like, that is how things are. Now, you could say, well, no, I'd like to call it like this, I'd like to call it like that. But the verse was actually speaking about a continuity after death. That if you are so shocked about the continuity after death, then what do you think insan came from? And I mentioned that because I know Hari Sultan does bring up a lot the verse to do with يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ, that it comes out from between the ribs and the spine, from the ribs and the spine, and he says, and they say, well, sperm doesn't come from there. I did mention that, look, if you look at this verse, that فَلْ يَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقْ, insan should look at what he was created from. خُلِقَ مِنْ مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ, he was created from this kind of liquid. يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ, this يَخْرُجُ, coming out, what is the pronoun going back to? يَخْرُجُ, does it go back to the fluid or does it go back to insan? Here many scholars, like including Ibn Atiyah, the great Andalusi Mufassir from around the 6th century Hijri, he had written in his tafsir, this was very clearly this refers to insan. Insan يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ, that insan is coming out from between these bones. Now, and I explained that, why is that important for insan to be coming out from between these bones? What's so special about that? That's because the Arabs, they weren't giving significance to bones, and in Surah Yasin they were questioning. They were saying, so you have in other verses of the Quran, مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ, that who will bring these bones back to life? إِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّنَ الْبَعْثِ, if you are in doubt of a continuity after life, then look what we created you from. A fluid that then develops into this lump that then has these little bones, and then he comes out from between these bones that you say, who will bring these bones back to life, and from between this structure of bones, this skeletal structure, emerges insan. And Allah says, and what is this insan? He in some ways is so, he becomes something else. ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. We made this into something else. This creature became something incredible. فَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقًا. He then went on to give an example, to give parallels onto us, and forgot his own creation. That he emerged from something that he himself would despise. That he'd be so shocked from between a skeletal, a bone structure, this creature emerges that becomes something, ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ, becomes something amazing. And I think that in that lies what I would believe is the true miracle, the miracle of human beings. And so these things, so that was part of the kind of discussion. There were many other things discussed, but my feeling was I really enjoyed it. And I think there needs to be much more of these kind of dialogues. Okay. Right, okay, let's move on to some of these things, people. What is going on? Right, let's take controversy one by one. Huh? Ek ek karke aa jao. Make a line. Time to pick a number and get in line. This so 5 pillars. 5 pillars. Mashallah. This on Muslim journalism, you know. Muslim journalism. This guy, you know, this Dili, whoever, this and these 5 pillars, they are so obsessed with me, and it's amazing because they claim to be an international Muslim organization that is covering global events affecting this Muslim ummah, and yet they are covering me. So I'm loving it. This is wow, because you know, at the end of the day, no press is bad press, people, because when they look, whoever they reach out to is not usually my crowd. Okay, so whoever they reach out to, there will definitely be at least a 5 to 10% margin that will go away, watch me, and think, actually, this guy's making sense. And then there were none. Allah, Allah, Allah. So this is, so I'm in many ways kind of indebted to these people for continuously and persistently and consistently being obsessed with me, because it's great effort, man. It's hard work, I gotta say. But they show true istiqamah. Anything they can find on me, they will publish. Publish is a grand word for them, but they will just make some online little article. So today I saw one that was sent that, oh, Mufti doesn't believe in the afterlife. He says it's symbolic. I've got many video clips which are on YouTube where I'm already tackling this issue. And what they've got is an extract of mine from my discussion with Abdullah Gondal, where I'm speaking of the afterlife. And I've said that the imagery in the Quran is, in my understanding, symbolic. Now, you don't need to agree with that. I have not asked you to agree with that. That would be ridiculous. If I ask you to agree with me, then that would just be dogma. But you see, to me, that's my reading of the Quran. We know Allah when He... And people may say, how... First of all, what is symbolism? Like, let's say, if I asked you to represent the concept of freedom, how would you do it? One example is you could have, let's say, here's an image. Let's say a beautiful white horse, running fast along. I mean, it's running along. This often is a kind of a picturesque scene that is used to demonstrate freedom. It symbolizes freedom. A dove, white dove, is often used as symbolism for the concept of freedom. To me, the continuity that this dunya, life does not end here. There is continuity. That continuity is complex to explain. So this kind of imagery is simply symbolic. It is just to help certain people who would need it to get by. Otherwise, the Prophet himself said nobody can even conceptualize what the afterlife is about. So the Prophet said, وَمَا خَطَرَ بِبَالِ بَشَرٍ قَطْ. Not a single human could ever conceptualize. If you can't even conceptualize, something, how can you express it in words? So, to me, the afterlife, the imagery in the Quran is symbolic. You may say, well, really? And then I will draw your attention to Allah describing himself in the Quran. And what is much greater than the afterlife is God himself. And God uses imagery. He uses symbolic imagery. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. This is symbolism. This isn't literal. So if Allah can be symbolic when referring to himself, what is heaven and hell? So that's, and you see, you may disagree with me, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me that you disagree with me. There's been many people, I mean, if you look at great people in the past, Ibn Rushd, the Maliki legend, if you look at the great Sufi, Ibn Arabi, and his writings, many of it, and he's highly revered by the Sufis, he said he said exactly this, that this is just all symbolic, and he said that even when God says he's going to punish people, it's just a lower sense of mercy, like it's still, he's going to reward them, that's what he meant. And he said adhab comes from the word udhuba, from sweetness. But my point of saying this is that, look, there are certain concepts which are problematic to many people, and I would accept that they are problematic. So if we were to say that things like, let's say you've done a crime, and for that crime you must be burnt. There is an element of a punishment being commensurate. And many people will find this concept in contrast. They will find it kind of clashing with the concept of compassion, the concept of mercy, the concept of, they will find it, many people, most Muslims just don't think about it that deeply, but if they did, they will struggle. Because to them, they will think, well, it shouldn't really be like that. So this is why I've said, look, this is my reading of the Quran. I feel that this imagery was there, and it was there really for the people it was revealed to. And we are just an extension. So saying that the Quran is enticing men towards, let's say, shade. But if you lived in a cold part of the world, if you lived in Antarctica or the North, Arctic or Alaska, I mean, telling you that heaven's going to have shade is not really appealing to you. Or telling you that, look, heaven is going to have rivers of milk. No, I mean, I don't think most men today in this part of the world find that appealing at all. In fact, I'm sure many people will find it quite the opposite. They don't want a river of honey. Like, I wouldn't want a river of honey. I wouldn't want a river of milk. But these kind of things were of appeal to when they were revealed. So it just used imagery that would resonate with the people. That's all. So, and you can disagree with that. That's fine. I'm not asking. And there's many people who will take this literally. There's others who will take it metaphorically, and others who will take it symbolically. And I've got, detailed videos on YouTube where I discuss this. You can watch that, and that's fine. But I think, you know what's interesting and amusing, and also depressing for, not as in depressing for me, but depressing to think about what other people are going through. People, that there are, what these people are trying to, I mean, miserably, obviously, if they're failing. I mean, it doesn't work with me. But, but with amongst themselves, they are bullying people into beliefs. Like, let's bully this person because he believes something a bit different. Believes, people, believes. Not even, you know, there's bullying of all kinds. There's bullying of, and bullies are always just evil, right? Miserable lowlives. But there's bullying in institutions, bullying in schools, bullying in workplaces, in all kinds of environment. There's bullying of that nature that exists everywhere. And this is to bully somebody so they can't even be free in their beliefs. How miserable is that? That they won't even, they don't want people to be able to just believe for themselves. Like, no, we must control this person's belief structure. That is such a miserable existence, to live like that. And wallahi, one of the things I'm so grateful for is that that Allah gave me the circumstances to kind of leave this religious people bubble. That I'm not really, I mean, I'm obviously, what I say impacts them and they have to respond to me and things like that. But my day-to-day life has nothing to do with like that religious people bubble at all. And I love it, honestly. it is one of if I could give you guys advice, those of you that are religious, gradually build your, expand this bubble and then burst it. And then just live your life. I mean, be true to your faith, but live it being true and genuine to yourself. Don't be in these bubbles of religious people are some of the most judgmental places to be trapped in. Honestly, I'm being honest about this. That, like I spoke last week about Sheikh Yasir Qadi. Today I bumped into somebody and we at the hairdressers, like you do, and we had this brief chat about this, and we spoke about certain things, and we mentioned this thing about Sheikh Yasir Qadi. Now, Sheikh Yasir Qadi just saying a few things and getting so much slack. I can say anything. I can do anything. I dress how I want. I do what I want. I believe what I want. What makes sense to me. I speak it. I teach it. I live it. And I don't care. And what these people have to say does not bother me. And yet, in this way, with this attitude, Allah has granted me the love of so many people. That they find solace in my words. That yet, these people in these bubbles, they have to watch every word so carefully. Sheikh Yasir Qadi made a simple example of saying things like, oh, the Islamic world and the Islamic, that kind of institutionalized ways, like the Newtonian way, and today it's like we're in Einstein's world and we need to kind of upgrade our way of thinking. And he got so much slack, and he's probably going to have to justify what he said, and he's going to have to kind of like play gymnastics and explain because he's worried about the crowd. Forget that crowd. Forget these people, man. You understand? Be true to who you are. Live this in this world. I tell you, it will be the greatest regret that you have. Those of you that are familiar with Ustad Osama Khanan, a great, an amazing inspiration from the States, who unfortunately is suffering with a terminal illness, ALS, and going through, which is a neuronal degenerative kind of illness. Now, in current times, it's impacted his speech, because it's kind of causing everything to dilapidate. May Allah, grant him ease. May Allah grant his family ease. He was an amazing person, did great work and is doing great work. Now, in this time, when his speech and these things have been impeded, he's exploring. So he's still on social media. He's still kind of active and people write things up for him and things like that. And he says that he's been exploring things like music and how it gives him solace and how it helps him and these kind of things. And he said that, one of his greatest kind of regrets, if you like, is the fact that for so long he deprived himself of being of this just because of what others, following what these sheikhs will say and what that Maulana will say and what this person will say and that he, in a way, like expressing in a way that I wish I'd never really just lived real and true for myself. That's what this life is, people. That's what Allah has given you as a gift. He's given you a mind. Use it, live it. Don't be trapped in these bubbles. Don't let people bully you into believing things. That, if you don't believe this list of things, we will bully you. They can't bully you. Who do they? This is 2019, people. We're not living in something like 1642. That the audacity that people have, and it is exactly that very nature, that monstrous nature, that monstrosity that has chased people from what I believe is this beautiful deen. It's chased people away from it. And people may say that I am crazy and eccentric and I chat all kinds of things. Maybe I do. But I can tell you that by nothing from what I've said has a person ever left this deen. But many have come back to it and found solace in the faith by words that I have said. So surely they must carry some meaning. That there must be something in them, in this way of thinking. Yet these people, this kind of Talibanized, this kind of caveman culture of trying to, we're going to force faith, this kind of policing people's ideas. This is the antithesis of what Islam came with. This deen was born free, people. Yet today they've locked it in chains. The Prophet ﷺ never taught people creed. If you cannot find a single hadith that mentions beyond a handful of things in what to believe in. Believe in God, that things will not end in this life, that there was revelation and that God is all powerful. This was it. For over 150 years, the Salaf of this ummah, people, from the Sahaba, from the Tabi'een, from the Atba'u Tabi'een to the likes of Imam Malik, the Don of Ahlul Madinah, never taught people dogma. They never wrote down what you're meant to believe. There was wisdom in that. Return to the way of the Salaf, people. The age of the mullahs is over. Okay, their reign has been lost, people. What I would say is that, look, think for yourself. That's what this deen came for. If I could give any kind of advice, and just don't allow this to just kind of permeate the Muslim scene, because it will just really destroy the face of Islam. So that if I can give, if you can take any message from what I'm saying, take that. Right. Following on from that. So that's this article that these people were saying with Abdullah Gonda. Alright, I think I just saw on here it said that Abdullah Gondal was on. It tuned in. Ahlan wa sahlan, khush amadid. Right, so people build bridges, talk to people, whether Muslim, non-Muslim, ex-Muslim, apostate, whatever. Talk to them, okay? And it's great to talk, and when people have opposite ideas, I think we should have dialogue, okay? I've asked as well, because I know that Ustad Daniel Haqiqat Jew has spoken in the past about apostasy. I've asked Daniel Haqiqat Jew for a dialogue on apostasy. Let's see if he accepts. If he does accept, I think it would be amazing. It would be amazing. So that, I think, because we need to kind of discuss things, okay? Cool. So moving on, right, from one controversy to another, from symbolism, from the words of Ghalib, that हमको जन्नत की हकीकत मालूम है लेकिन, that we know the reality of Jannah, लेकिन हमको जन्नत की हकीकत मालूम है लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को गालिब ख्याल अच्छा है. He says, Ghalib, but it is an idea that does bring some comfort to the heart. I love Ghalib. I love these people, honestly. They, you know, if you could do away with the mullahs and bring the poets in, we would have an amazing ummah, honestly. So I would advise people always learn more about these people, the poets, as opposed to, I mean, have some link with, obviously, the... Anyway, let's move on to the next controversy, one after the other. So, Sheikh Yaqoobi Sahib. Right, what is going on with Sheikh Yaqoobi? Right, so, first of all, there was a video somebody sent me. Sheikh Yaqoobi was discussing some of my comments in a very heated and passionate kind of response, saying this person, how dare he mock Imam Nawawi, and how dare he say these things about homosexuality, and then how dare he, you know, and he calls himself a mufti. To be honest, okay, chalo, khul ke baat kare, khul ke baat ho jaye yahan pe. Should we kind of speak honestly and freely? I was kind of amazed that he would actually speak about me in a public gathering, and partially flattered. You naughty. You eminence. You eminently flattering me. This one not nice. It's not causing, you know, dil mera dhak dhak dole. Right, so I thought, okay, this is interesting, because I wouldn't have thought that Sheikh Yaqoobi would make a reference in a public place to me, saying that, you know, this guy calls himself a mufti and he's from here, from the UK, and obviously, who else is there? Al-Mufti. Idha utliq. You know, if you just use the word mufti on its own, فَأُرِيدَ بِهِ خَادِمُكُمْ. Right, your khadim banda na cheez, okay. Urida bihi Abu Layth al-Maliki. Right, so there's this whole homosexuality thing, and Imam Nawawi's comment, and I'm going to come to that. But just speaking about Sheikh Yaqoobi, now, I don't have anything against Sheikh Yaqoobi. Sorry, His Eminence. What is this eminence thing about, by the way? I mean, royalty. Khamkhaki royalty. You know, what's this royalty thing like? I mean, who calls himself His Eminence? I know he's going to say, I don't call myself. But he doesn't stop it either. Stop teasing me. This one, right. I don't call myself the most graceful, but if you guys call me, I don't mind either, you know. This one, don't mind, huh? Don't mind. So he doesn't call, okay, but he's definitely okay with it. This is definitely rolling with it. His Eminence, royalty. Look, at the end of the day, I think, to be fair, as far as Pir Sabs go and Sheikhs go, I actually like Sheikh Muhammad Yaqoobi. He's, as far as they generally go, he's from the more level-headed kind of, you know, Pirs of Tariqas, these Pirs who lead a whole, it is in essence a cult, right? But they lead a cult. But he's definitely much more balanced. He's much more, and he is knowledgeable. I mean, I don't know exactly how knowledgeable, because I've never really watched anything with ilm, like with actual, where the 1-2 things I've seen, they're just like generic talks. They're just like, you know, just be good and be nice. So I've never seen him discuss like a deep issue. I mean, maybe he hasn't put those videos up on online, but if he does, that would be awesome. We'd get to see that side. But I would believe that he definitely comes from a family of scholars, and he's not just like one of these Pir Sabs that is just like, you know, doesn't know anything and just got handed a silver spoon. He's not like that. In fact, many years ago, our paths crossed over 2 decades ago in Damascus. At that time, Sheikh Yaqoobi Saab was, he was nothing special really, and had no real importance in that sense to him. I mean, I know his father was really esteemed in Syria at that time, but in the late 90s I met him. Or was it the late 90s or early 2000s? But it was about 2 decades ago. I met him in Damascus, just briefly, and just shook hands. Nothing that he would remember, of course. It's, you know, the problem with me is that it's not when you first meet me, it's our second meeting. If our paths cross again, then be sure to note that this time they will not go unnoticed. But the first time, I don't expect him to remember me, but he was not somebody of great prominence in Damascus at that time. He was known, as in like you know of him, but there weren't people around him. He never had that kind of entourage. He never had that, you know, Sheikh, Sayyidi, everything. None of that business. He was just like a normal guy just walking. I think he was teaching at one of the institutes, and he would just come out, just normal, you know, you could just go up to him. People did know who he was, that he was this sheikh, and he's still a sheikh in all of what he is today, but he just was like a regular, like an academic, like that, but respected, revered. I'm not saying people disrespected him, but he never had this cult at all, not even remotely at that stage. But unbeknownst to him, the future was to unfold many things. Amongst them, great power, Allah. So, over the years, Sheikh Yaqoobi has come to the UK, but this is nothing new. Sheikh Yaqoobi had been coming to the UK for many years, never gained any serious prominence. He used to come down south, and people would take him on tours and things like this. But I think it was around maybe the late 2000s. Maybe it was around 2010 or maybe a bit before that. Maybe like 2008 or something. I don't know exactly. But it was around the late 2000s that there was some politics went on. And the people that used to involve themselves with Sheikh Yaqoobi kind of ditched him. And they boycotted him. And I think they claimed there was some scandal or something. But I don't know. Usually... Scandals are always to do with women, usually. But I whatever the situation was, but I suppose that's buried. That's buried. Then why did I mention it? Now they're gonna hate me for saying it. Relax. I'm sure he's answered it. I'm sure he's answered it. But there was whatever. So they left him. Sheikh Yaqoob was then kind of fostered by people up north. Now, in the north, within the UK, we have Midlands and North. We have a very strong Brailvi community. Now, what Sheikh Yaqoob was to discover was that there was a great potential hidden within the Desi community, that he hadn't realized the kind of level of devotion, borderline hero worship that goes on within the Desi community. I don't think he was truly exposed to that, because the people he was exposed to in Damascus were kind of like students that were going over from America and they weren't the kind of hero worship kind of. There were maybe one or two, but not so many. Now, he then embarked on this thing, and you can see this transformation. So he comes to Birmingham and he comes to Kamkolvia, and you'll see one of his great initial speeches of Sheikh Yaqoob was one where he actually praised Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, the great Deobandi scholar, in a Brailvi mosque. A mistake that Sheikh Yaqoob was swiftly to learn that is never to be repeated. So Sheikh Yaqoob soon acclimatized to the kind of Desi politics of the Deobandis and Brailvis, and quite swiftly in time would distance himself completely from the Deobandi kind of heritage of the subcontinent. Not entirely, but he would kind of go a bit quiet on it, because he realized that, okay, the market lies with the Brailvis. The Brailvis really absorbed Sheikh Yaqoob. I mean, he could not, Sheikh Yaqoob could not give them enough. They completely consumed anything that he had to offer and wanted more. So Sheikh Yaqoob really found, like they say in Arabic, like wajada dalatahu, he found what he was looking for. This was it. I mean, he rose to great prominence on the back of the Desi community within the Midlands and the north of England, because they took it to another level. I mean, we're talking about unfathomable doors unlocking, doors of wealth, prosperity, money, power, dynamism. I mean, it's amazing. People with great, people that run corporations and things like this, they will back you as a Pir Sahib. So his shift kind of really warmed to this. You see this, and then he kind of comfortably settled as this tariqah. I run this tariqah, you're all my kind of murids, and really took this by its reins. And that is the making of what you have now as Sheikh Muhammad, His Eminence Ali Yaqoob Sahib. And as far as Pir Sahibs go, I don't actually mind him. I think he's actually definitely better and a good version of the Pir Sahibs, because they can be highly exploitative Pir Sahibs can be. And they usually are. They're usually very abusive, usually all about power, money, things like this. But, I mean, definitely he's from the better kind of, if you are to join, you see, to me, all of these practices are cults. But if you are to join a cult, then I suppose his cult is definitely a better and less harmful cult to be in than other cults. I mean, it doesn't mean it's scandal-free. I mean, there was this huge, in the last 2 years, a huge scandal to do with the charity, SKT. This charity which allegedly, Masala, I don't know the reality, but apparently they were key devotees of Sheikh Yaqoob who gave him a position of prominence which he then wished to take over the entire charity. And when they originally got rid of him, got rid of him, he sent messages around saying all my murids are to boycott that charity. I mean, him accusing them of mishandling funds, but I think the Charity Commission did clear them. But that's beyond the point. Maybe whether they did mishandle funds is not unbelievable, but since Muslim charities are usually quite, not always so scrupulous on these things. But once again, you can see this wielding this power. Murids, I want my murids to boycott this. I bring this to the table. this sense of power. 2 decades ago, the Sheikh Yaqoob that I fleetingly shaked hands with in the streets of Damascus could never have envisaged that a day would come when he would make a threat to wield such power against a huge £1 million strong, at least, or millions of pounds strong charity and an organization. But so this is the making of these sheikhs of tariqah. So that's a bit of the kind of what we've got in front of us. Now, Sheikh Yaqoob, his eminence, he said about me that I mocked Imam Nawawi. Now, I did not mock Imam Nawawi to start off with. Firstly, that's obviously, I don't know whether he watched my whole thing. I doubt he watched my whole thing. Which, in that case, he should not have passed judgment on it. See, I caught you out. Either you watched it, in which case, you teasing me, naughty, you watching my videos. And if you say you didn't watch it, then I'll say, so you passed judgment on me without watching it, you naughty. This one, checkmate. Checkmate. So Sheikh Yaqoob, he kind of got really worked up. And you see, the truth be told, I don't make a claim. I've read what Imam Nawawi had written. I've got a lengthy discussion on YouTube which speaks about homosexuality and Islam, a diverse history, in which I mentioned that, look, people in the past, and it's a very nuanced conversation, monologue I'm having, a recording. You can watch it, by all means. Do watch it. Do like, subscribe. Quick plug there. So, look, however, what I was simply doing was reading. So I've read what Imam Nawawi said, and I said, look, you have to acknowledge that Imam Nawawi is speaking as though it's a given. So in his day and age, he's assuming everybody has a bisexual nature to them. Because he's saying that, look, because he writes in his book that everybody knows that young boys are far more, prettier than many women. And, now that's building on a kind of given, a posited axiom, if you like, that everybody is bisexual in nature. Like, if I said that, so if I said, for example, imagine I said something like, look, anybody that is left alone with £1 million would at least consider stealing it. Now, you see, when I make, and I would believe that I would say that because I would assume that most people, by and large, have the desires of temptation, of greed. We all have a sense of greed. Now, you could say, how controlled is your greed? But if I was to say any person left alone with £1 million would be tempted to steal it. Now, Imam Nawawi is saying any person left alone with a young boy would be tempted to have sex with him, or at least look at him sexually. Now, I would think, what? No, so, what? Boy, that escalated quickly. So, you see now, if somebody, because Imam Nawawi made that claim, and he's not the only person, many people before him made it, because in their day and age, they saw that as a kind of given. Now, they weren't homosexual in today's day and age sense, and I'm not saying Imam Nawawi was homosexual, but I said he acknowledges a fundamental bisexuality that he feels is intrinsic in human nature and ubiquitous. Vah! Now just quote that back to me. You see, but he does feel that these people are, this is a given, that everybody would relate to what I'm saying. So And there's nothing so shocking about that, that the medieval Muslims and the medieval Arabs and the medieval kind of times, people had a kind of sense of, there was pederasty, okay, which is like what the Greeks had with boys, that they had these sexual and romantic relationships with boys, and they felt a sense of attraction to boys. And by boys, they meant like boys in their mid-late teens. That's what they meant. So Socrates speaks about it, Plato, Aristotle, these people would have all had relationships with boys. Thrasymachus, who's a contemporary of Socrates, says in his famous quote that as a young boy I seduced the men from their wives, and as a grown man I seduced the wives from their men. Wah Thrasymachus Guru. आपके क्या कहने हैं? Also, another eminent philosopher of the past, Thrasymachus, was also a very intriguing philosopher who believed in might is right. But put that aside, fast forward to what Imam Nawawi was simply articulating and expressing was the sentiment of his age. So I wasn't mocking him when I'm saying that. I was saying what he was saying. Mocking, if you mean by mocking I'm making this up, it's written in his book. And some Wahhabi from Saudi tried to refute me on it he made a live video that went on for an hour where he says, this Abu Layth guy is a deviant, Dajjal, how dare he say this, I'm going to read it out. And he reads it out and he says, and they are prettier than most women or many women. And he says, well, duh, that's because, he goes, I can answer that. That's because many women are ugly. Needless to say, this guy looked like a Neanderthal that had gone long-term, that suffered from chronic depression. Himself, that's what this Saudi Wahhabi looked like. But yet, he had the audacity to say many women are ugly. I thought, but see, so this is the thing. It's like he could have just said, this Saudi Wahhabi could have just quite easily said, I'm not gay. He could have said, I'm not gay. It's just that there's so many sexy boys around. That's the equivalent of what's going on here, right? So my and the other thing with his eminence is his eminence, because his eminence Sheikh Yaqoob Sahib, I just find that hilarious. His eminence, he has released a new Bukhari, a copy of Bukhari, and because he made an advertising claim that it's the most authentic copy on earth, so I picked up on that because I have a thing. Me and Bukhari have a thing, you see. Sheikh Yaqoob said my copy is based on the Sultaniya, but then every copy of Bukhari is based on the Sultaniya. So I don't know, I think this has got back to him. So now he's apparently backtracked. And now apparently Sheikh Yaqoob is saying, no, what I meant was that my copy is based on the Sultaniya, which is the most authentic copy. So basically every copy of Bukhari on earth is the majority, the overwhelming majority copies, I don't mean some exceptional ones, the overwhelming majority copies of Bukhari on earth are the most authentic copies. That's the equivalent of me saying, this athlete is the best. And then when you say, but really, that guy outperformed him in this, and this guy outperformed him in this, and this guy outperformed him in this, I say, no, my friend. Right number, wrong door, number next door. What I mean, this athlete is the best. This athlete is human, and humans are best. So this one best price I give you, this one best price. So the response was that this athlete, he human being, best. So because this is Sultaniya, all copy Sultaniya copy best. Wah Guru, wah. Love you, yaar. Love you, my Sheikh. So this is, but obviously these kind of things go on. Why? But this, look, this is really just business. I've got nothing against business. I love business. Business, I love business, you know. in saving, what was it? Not Private Ryan, the other one with where is that sea? Where the Somali pirate, he says, I'm no Osama bin Laden. I am businessman. So this Captain Philip, that's it. So I love business. I've got nothing against business. And I think, look, this is a business thing, and that's fine. And I feel that what Sheikh Yaqoob's journey, like many others and before him, it's gone from the word, which is the kind of message, to adding the flesh, which is the corpus, people. You see, now, once you add the corpus, it is from there only a tiny step to corporation. One to ka, four. As Anil Kapoor Saab said, one to ka, four. This is, so it doesn't take long, and I'm not against that, and that's all fine. May Allah give him more money and more money. Sabko de, yeah. May Allah give everybody. Yeah. Why not Sheikh Yaqoob? So that I've got nothing against, but I just feel that using, you know, like these kind of tactics is problematic. It's big problem, you know. It's, no es bueno, you know, this one not nice, you know, this one. And I would love to have a discussion with Sheikh Yaqoob on Sahih Bukhari if he claims. I watched a clip of Sheikh Yaqoob saying it's impossible to doubt Sahih Bukhari. I thought, cha? Confidence to manna parega yaar. What does the poet say? He says, ए बर के तजल्ली क्या तूने हमको भी मूसा समझा है, हम तूर नहीं जो जल जाएं जब चाहे मुकाबिल आ जाए. That, you know, he says that we're not the Mount Sinai that we will just crumble. हम तूर नहीं जो जल जाएं जब चाहे मुकाबिल आ जाए. That whenever you want, come face to face. I would love to have a discussion, because this claim that it's impossible to prove to have any doubt with Sahih Bukhari, I think this one big claim, you know, big claim, not nice, you know. This one it becomes muy complicado, you know, muy complicado. So yep. So if Sheikh Yaqoob does watch this and he would love to, and if he's interested, I'd be honored to have it would be respectful, it would be civil, the propriety of His Eminence would be maintained. I would maintain the etiquettes. So, right, so, and they can give me the list of, but they can't tell me, don't they dare tell me you're not allowed to. I will be myself, but I won't be, it will be very civil, very friendly. But I know it would never happen. Sheikh Yaqoob kahan hum logon se baatein karte hain. But anyway, so that's Sheikh Yaqoob. Let's move on. Right, so very quickly speaking about Sheikh, oh my God, is that the time? Ya salam. Speaking about my other beloved, see, one after, back to back. God, we've been killing it today, killing it. Right, back to back sessions. Right, so I should just make like a WhatsApp group and call these are like my exes from another universe. Put them all in you know, this is like in case I felt like left out, that why didn't I get any bitter exes? So so I get these guys who just get obsessed with me. So, people, let's come to one of our beloveds, our Dilbar Jani, Sheikh Asrar Rashid Sahib. Allah, Allah, Allah. Ah, ¿qué tal, Sheikh Asrar? Mi amor, mi corazón, how are you doing? So, Sheikh Asrar's video recently surfaced, in which it's called Refutation of Abu Layth, in which, in his usually awkwardly positioned angle, he's sitting there and he's refuting me, saying that I can't believe this undergraduate of a Darul Uloom. By the way, I don't know what that means, undergraduate of a Darul Uloom. But he doesn't use my name anymore. तो मेरा नाम क्यों नहीं लेते? You know, first he would on everything non-stop call me by my name. He wanted to know the village I was from. He wanted to know everything. अब मेरा नाम भी नहीं लेते. You know, now he doesn't call me by my name. यार ये गेम क्या खेल रहे हैं यार? मुझे तरपा के मारोगे क्या? तरसा के. You know, I'm like, hi, why doesn't he call my name? So, Sheikh Asrar, who now just refers to me in the third person. Hi, oof. Hi, ye bedard zamana. Oof. Let me do the Paki one. Sheikh Asrar is probably thinking, if I say his name, log ka aksan. Log ka aksan. This is the... So Sheikh Asrar has this video where he's refuting me and saying these are just schoolboy errors. Schoolboy errors, Frabri. Schoolboy errors. This so-called Mufti is making schoolboy errors. Oh, rather, one does find it rather nauseating that the schoolboy errors persistently committed by this schoolboy, this undergraduate. So I watched it. I thought, yar, maybe my beloved Sheikh Asrar, right? One thing I gotta give Sheikh Asrar though, he doesn't follow any kind of tariqah. Gotta give him that. You know, he's not an acolyte. He doesn't he doesn't follow any kind of tariqah and things like that. Not cult. I mean, he has a cult of his own, arguably, but not a tariqah one. So I respect where respect is due. So I thought, what? Maybe mi amor is about to bring me back to the path. Maybe he will guide me. Maybe he will show me the light. Perchance, this may happen. But no. He just went on and on and on and didn't answer any of the questions. I thought, yeah. I thought, why? Nah. So after watching it, I thought, where's my phone? Where's my beloved Sheikh Asrar's number? Let me send this one a message, you know. I said, my beloved Sheikh, I have watched your film, your reputation. So I sent him a message. I said, Sheikh, very nice, respectful message. I even put a love heart in there. I did. I put a love heart. I said, stay blessed, love heart. I said, look, Sheikh, I watched your clip and I said, how about a conversation on Sahih Bukhari? How about a dialogue? You and me. I said, look, I've made the claim that there are systemic issues with Sahih Bukhari. You've responded by saying these are easily answerable. So how about we have a chat over some tea and since they're easily answerable, it shouldn't be a problem. A dialogue. What say you? So, lo and behold, after I send this message no gets sent, you know. Can it be that I am blocked? My beloved has blocked me. Dilbar Jani, Dilbar, क्या हो रहा है, ऐसा ना करें, ऐसा दुख होवे, बहुत दुख होवे. So I was kind of like, oh my God, ये दिन भी देखना था. I had to see this day when Sheikh Asrar, but then it appears, it transpires, people, that he's changed his number. But then I got the message to him, alhamdulillah, all safe and sound. You know, like in the good old days, they used to say, chalo, reel baro. You know, you get a cassette, the old cassettes, and they used to record them, the Pakistanis did, and they send them back to the village. Right, so I got the message through to him. So his response is that this is an old clip from last year, and I've not done this recently. So, you know, so you're barking up the wrong tree. I mean, he never said barking up the wrong tree. That's my word. I don't want him to say, I never said that. I did not say that. So he said that this is an old clip from last year. I said, theek hai meri jaan, that may be so, but my offer for you still stands. Porusted for you still stands. So Sheikh Asrar said, I'll think about it in my own time. So people, that was the end. That's where so we've been left on a cliffhanger. Unfortunately, he hasn't accepted. But it would be awesome to have a discussion with him, to have a discussion with Sheikh Yaqoob Saab, to have a discussion with any of these scholars on Sahih Bukhari. It will be civil and thoroughly enjoyable. Allah, 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 Allah. Yaar, confidence to hai. Do I even know anything? Or am I just blagging this confidence? My guru once told me, fake it till you make it. So I thought, okay. This is all just... Alright, people. Anyway, guys, I think we're going to have to wrap this up. You guys have been awesome. You've really hacked it through. So that's really, if anything, my message. That, look, people, it's always great to talk. Do not, under any circumstances, let people ever bully you into believing something. Your mind, people, must always be free. Okay, the mind, to me, is the ruh. Okay, and the ruh comes to us. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This comes to us from Allah. Wa nafakhna, Allah infused this into Adam. Wa nafakhna fihi min ruhina. Okay. So this, people, is something, if anything, you are to consider like so overwhelmingly amazing, with a lining, a sacred lining. It is the mind, it is consciousness. And so never allow people to bully you into beliefs. Your beliefs should be upon your own choices. Okay. And if you wish to follow, you know, if you wish to be an acolyte, follow a particular cult or whatever, then fine. But in all honesty, the problem with that is that, you see, these things, these people are human beings. And they may rise and they may fall. Now, one of the things I mentioned earlier on that I'm so grateful, you know, for Allah and for inspiring me to be able to express myself, is just to be true. I can be like this. I don't claim to be holy. I'm not even part of these holy religious bubbles. And I don't want to be. I just want to be with normal people. The good, the bad. Okay. मैं फरिश्तों के सोहबत के लायक नहीं. हम सफर कोई चाहिए गुनाहगार सा. That I'm not really suitable to walk with the angels. Right? I need a sinner to accompany me in this journey of mine. And मैं अकेले ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. That this is just a journey I've set out on my own. And it's people that have joined along the way, that they've extended their love and support. So people with that, remember me in your kind du'as. May Allah forever keep you smiling, laughing, and may He fill your lives with joy. Have an awesome evening wherever you are. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.